Thank you for joining me today in our fashion bit of the Bangla metaverse here. Could you say a little bit about yourself?
Sure. So my name is Aswini Deshpande. I'm originally from South India, so I grew up in Bangalore. So I'm part of the kind of same diaspora of South Asians. And I've been in the UK for about 5 years now. I moved here to study at London College of Fashion. So I've just graduated London College of Fashion with a BA in Fashion Design and Development. I'm also the founder of a sustainable AI-based fashion company. And I'm currently working as head of 3D design and production at a digital fashion startup called Republic. So, fashion tech, fashion sustainability, that's very much my thing.
Amazing. You've done a lot in a very short space of time since you've been in this country. So today is the last day of London Fashion Week. And Fashion Week has been kind of online for the last 2 years. Do you think Fashion Week, as it stands, is still even relevant?
I think at one point it was definitely becoming not as relevant, and I guess that period is kind of extending to now as well. But I think I was just looking at the various events. I haven't been keeping track of it very well this time, to be honest, because I've just moved houses and my Wi-Fi connection has not been great. But I think a lot of designers out there are really trying to do more to make it relevant, because yes, at one point it definitely felt very irrelevant, to me at least, and especially in the beginning of the pandemic. It was just not really in line with how people were thinking about things and how life was going for so many people. But I think slowly the direction of Fashion Week is changing, and just the fact that it's online in the first place just makes it so much more accessible. It means so many more people are able to kind of contribute to it, which changes, the entire narrative. And I think that way it is kind of becoming a bit more relevant once again, I would say. But I think there is a lot of kind of work to be done in order to really make it, as relevant as it used to be once upon a time.
Yeah, I can. Fashion is such an old industry, so it kind of needs shaking up, and it like slowly is moving to kind of a better way of being, because it has to. And in terms of the fashion industry over the last 2 years, not just Fashion Week, it's been so impacted by COVID, particularly. Say Bangladesh, it's the second biggest exporter of clothes in the world after China. And in fact, I think its biggest export is clothes. And we had the Bangladesh Accord because of the Rana Plaza disaster. So a lot, alongside the sort of the spectacle of Fashion Week, if we look at the manufacturing side as well, it's had to change. It was changing before COVID. What do you think the future is for the supply chain?
Supply chain, like you said, it's just it's so off, isn't it? The fact that we're celebrating all of these designs, but at the same time on the manufacturing end, it's just it's not okay. The situation is just not okay, and I think that's slowly coming to light a bit more, like with the whole, I think it was, I forget the name of the campaign, but when the pandemic first struck, with all of these big companies canceling orders in Bangladesh, refusing to pay for stocks that they had initially ordered and things like that. I think those things slowly came to light, which in a sense was kind of a positive of the pandemic, because suddenly so many more people were kind of speaking about it, and they were kind of thinking about what goes behind the supply chain, people who otherwise wouldn't have thought about it. No, I think the question is like, how far will that conversation go? Are we just gonna have that initial conversation and let it go, or are we going to actually take action and make a change?
Yeah, the Bangladesh Accord, it actually expires quite soon in these few months, and Bangladesh itself, it has changed a lot in terms. 100% of the factories are audited to be at least safe. I don't know what that means in terms of, the sort of the labor laws, but the first thing is for the environment to be, in itself safe in terms of health and safety. And yeah, these disasters, it does create a spotlight, and it creates accountability of everybody. The power dynamics within the supply chain, which is usually from the actual brands, even more than governmental law. It has to sort of come from the demands have to come from there, and the consumers. And yeah, consumers are much more aware through the pandemic, have become much more aware about where they sit within sustainability and ethics. And that's, as you said, that's been fantastic. And where does, we like clothes, that they're one of the most tactile and real items. So where do you think digital fashion sits within all of that?
Mm-hmm. So I think, first of all, I mean, digital fashion is, with all of these digital fashion shows that are happening and everything, like I said, it just makes it so much more accessible, and means that people from around the world are able to contribute. People from around the world are able to get involved, rather than it being, elite the way fashion has always been. I mean, obviously there is still the question of like, does everyone have access to Wi-Fi and things like that? But I think that's slightly more like a step ahead in terms of being able to address it at the next stage, perhaps. But also, aside from that, from a sustainability angle, I think, fashion sustainability is it's a big word, and there's so much work to be done on every front. So I don't think digital fashion is an entire solution in itself, but I think it can definitely be part of the solution. We talk about, supply chain and things like that, because if you're doing all of your prototyping in 3D digitally, then that obviously, it just makes the communication between where the manufacturing is happening and where the designing is happening just much more efficient. And I think that's really important, to not have to, fly samples back and forth, to actually be able to communicate more easily between kind of the factory and the designers. And at the same time, when you look at, purely virtual fashion that doesn't exist in real life, that's not really for the supply chain, on that end as well, like I think the main thing that needs to help with is to reduce overconsumption of physical fashion. And I think like if it is able to do that, if it's able to reduce the consumption of physical fashion, the frivolous consumption of physical fashion to some extent, I think that can be a huge impact in terms of sustainability. So, obviously the supply chain does still need to change. We still do need physical clothes, and that still has to be done sustainably. But I think this definitely can be part of the solution.
Okay, great. And in terms of, and it's a slightly different market for digital fashion. You see a lot of assets being sold through the gaming industry as well. And it sort of crosses over to all these other areas. And what do you feel about that? Do you think those industries benefit from kind of very sort of core fashion design sensibilities?
Yeah, definitely. I think with gamers and things, they have always been spending money online the way you and I probably haven't been doing all of these years. So they're kind of very used to buying things that don't exist in real life. And I think they've probably always wanted more options, and for the fashion industry to actually get involved there and give them those extra options and actually, exploit the fact that they are willing to pay for those things. I think that's a clever thing for the industry to do, first of all. But also, I think there's going to be so much back and forth between, we're going to be picking things up from industries like gaming, and they're going to be picking things up from us. And, I think it can be a really useful kind of collaborative effort if it's done correctly, and it can really push innovation in the fashion industry as well.
Yeah, and I think as well, within fashion, it's very sort of, in terms of the labor force, it's very female heavy, and we know, of course, it's usually men at the top. But in terms of designers and makers, and actually that in itself diversifies the gaming world when the two industries are overlapping, which I find quite an interesting, sort of an interesting byproduct of the collaborations across the industries. And you're right in the heart of 3D rendered and digital fashion. What's going to be what's going to happen in the next 5 years with it? Because it's accelerated so much. There's it's amazing what's happened, and also the avatars that have come along alongside the digital fashion as well, which again has really sort of really grown the potential and the creativity and the diversity online of how we represent ourselves.
Yeah, definitely. So it's honestly it's hard to say because 5 years ago we would have never expected to be where we are now, and I think also part of that is because the pandemic kind of accelerated things in digital fashion, which otherwise probably would have taken 5 more years to get to this stage. But I think like this is big now. Like we're not going back. This is happening, and I think in another 5 years, first of all, if you look at Instagram, if you look at face filters and things, the way those have kind of evolved to become so popular. Going to be next with that? I mean, that's more, I guess, beauty and that sort of thing. But with kind of things like 3D body scanning and things like just motion capture and all of these things just becoming so much more advanced day by day. I think that's going to be a big part of fashion. Just kind of augmented reality and body tracking and all of that, but also about, for instance, like Apple's AR glasses and all of the big tech companies are now looking at AR and VR and taking AR and VR very seriously, which I think is going to make a huge difference for the fashion industry, because the fact that those big players are investing in kind of these softwares and this sort of hardware, we're probably going to be projecting clothes onto each other in 5 years' time. Like that may seem really far-fetched right now, but I think it's a very real possibility.
Yeah, I'm just wondering because a lot of the tools which were they were just for developers and people who had already experience in coding are now kind of out there for everyday people, which then allows for a different type of content creation. And we saw that through Instagram, for instance, a lot of people just became fantastic photographers, and then that impacted the development of how like the cameras on phones, and in the same way, people will become these sort of AR, VR. Well, they are already content creators, mixing up all the different media that they can. And as you said, with like Facebook and Snap, and they're bringing out these different recording glasses which will be able to overlay. It's kind of difficult to say, but we know some exciting things are definitely going to happen. So for yourself and your company, what kind of offers? Where do you sit in the market?
We're very much about digital only fashion. That's what we do at Republique, and it's very much about young people who want to try and explore digital fashion. That's kind of the market we're going towards, and we're seeing huge success in terms of the number of people who want to try it out. And I think that's the initial stage where loads of people are trying it out, and then you kind of see where that goes, and how many people want to take that up more seriously and kind of invest more in their digital wardrobes, or how many people are maybe not that interested. And like we're in the process of really figuring out that demographic of who's going to really want to take it forward. But I think as a company, like we are quite new and we're still in a very experimental stage, but things are going really great. So let's see how that goes.
Fantastic. It's a good place to be, kind of to look at the landscape, and like with any, if you've got fashion background, you're part leading what's going to happen next, and you're part responding as well, and that's a fun place to be.
Yep, yeah, definitely.
Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much, Aswini, and hope I'll see you in real life. Should we have a little walk around the world? Let's just walk up and down the street.
It looks absolutely lovely. I love you have all of these kind of brick lane sort of graffiti and things, and you also have the cinder bands, and it's amazing, honestly.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, with the metaverse, God, I hate that word already. I myself it's it's a real area of just exploration. Just trying things out and seeing like, is it good, is it bad, and that's a really fun, sort of it's sort of an area of discovery, isn't it, and experimentation.
Oh, absolutely, 100%. I think there's just so much potential that, at some stage it's the users who have to discover its potential, not necessarily the developers who have to create potential, because there's already so much potential there.
So I'm Sienna, I'm 20. I'm a second year student at CSM studying fashion journalism.
Oh, I'm Jade, I'm 19 and I'm going to start first year fine art at CSM.
And you just moved to Brick Lane?
Yeah, literally yesterday. I mean, we met last year at Halls in Tottenham Hale. We were in the same flat. And then our friend Nico, her sister Jazz, has lived here for about 2 years.
Yeah.
And she has this like gorgeous flat, and she's subletting it to us while she goes to do music in LA. So luckily, we've come into possession of this incredible flat just off Brick Lane. It's going to be ours for the next 6 months, which is amazing.
You're obviously extremely fashionable. What does it mean to you? What does fashion mean to you in East London, Brick Lane, and even Fashion Week? Does it have relevance?
I don't know, I've got to be honest, I feel like I've been in my like small town all summer and I've just come back like to London, and it feels really like refreshing and like amazing to be back in this world and feel like fashion kind of wasn't almost that relevant for me for the last few months, and now it feels like it's re-emerged in my life, and I don't know, it's a nice...
Yeah, I mean, I do adore fashion, I always will, but I think we need to get more creative about what fashion means to us and really can mean. And I definitely think we need to start thinking about ways we can make do and mend and bring back DIY skills and make them more widely available, and kind of commit to that and work with what we have and give value back to our clothes, because we don't need any more. And I know like 90% of the clothes that go to charity in this country just get shipped off to other countries. And so I think you can love fashion, but that doesn't need to mean buying clothes anymore.
And in terms of digital fashion, do you still think, it really, there was a massive surge of digital fashion over the last 2 years because we didn't have live catwalks. Do you think it still has its place? What does it mean anything to you?
Yeah, I think it's fun just as an experiment and a concept and a bit of art, but I think we'll always love like real life fashion, especially now that we're able to see each other again, will always be more important. It can never replace it, like the texture and the colour and like the emotional response. Real clothes on the street and garments that are being passed down to us, the emotional value they hold and give us. It's never going to be an alternative way to dress. I think it's just going to be a fun concept.
Great. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
My name is Gaiya. I'm 21 years old. I'm Colombian and I'm a photographer. And I've been living for London for like 3 years now. And I've been working and studying half-time. So yeah, that's my resume.
Excellent. So how come you're on Brick Lane today?
I was on holiday, so I arrived to London a few days ago, and I wanted to come back to the places that I like here in the city, and Brick Lane was one of my favorite places, so that's why I'm here. Since I've been away, no, because I've only been away for like a month or 2 months, so it's been the same. But since I've lived in London, it has changed for sure. I don't know, I would say something similar to what happened with Camden. So it's starting to be like a more touristic place maybe, and there's more like interest or less. It's becoming more general and less unique, I'd say, from my opinion. I don't know.
Okay. And in terms of, it's Fashion Week at the moment, does fashion mean anything to you?
It does, from personal interest on what I would like to wear and stuff, but as much as the Fashion Week, I'm not very engaged with that. So I do like to see fashion shows and stuff, but I'm not really into what's going on at the moment.
Okay. Is there any particular reason, or is something that?
No, it's just that what I do in my life doesn't involve that, so I would have to like be really into it to like having like seeing it every day. It's not something that I'm surrounded by constant every day.
And in terms of digital fashion, is it something you've come across?
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I follow a lot of people that has like small brands and stuff like that. So internet is a way to like be closer with people that is like not just in London or stuff, but all around the world maybe. So yeah.
Okay, and so with digital fashion, do you think it still has relevance, even though
I would say even how it has more relevance than fashion shows maybe, because I don't really see fashion shows anymore, but I do see what's going on in the internet and who is like doing more stuff and things like that. So
I'm Danny and I come from just outside Birmingham. I'm a personal stylist for Reese and Selfridges, and I've done this for about 19 years. And Charlie?
Name's Charlie from Wolverhampton.
That's it.
Yeah, Wolves. Yeah. We got questions.
And it's your 22nd birthday.
Yeah, it's my birthday. Yeah, what is your question? Sorry.
Just a little bit about yourself. So it's your 22nd.
It's my 22nd birthday. Yeah. More important than that though, my band's called The Head, and our album's called Eternal Freak, spelt with an I. It'll be out soon. It's the best record in the last 20 years.
Oh, why do you love Brick? Well, you've come to Brick Lane.
Come Brick Lane for the bagels and for the clothes.
Do you particularly like vintage?
Yeah. Majority of stuff that I wear is vintage clothes. Just have always liked it. I think by shopping vintage you got more choice to find something interesting.
And what do you think about? I mean, it's Fashion Week now, and you work in a well-established department store. Lots change.
Yeah.
Where is fashion going?
I think since we've come back from COVID, personal shopping with Lady, it's took a long time to sort of get it back busy. Ladies' shopping habits have really changed because they were shopping online. They were scared to shop. It's only this last couple of weeks I've noticed a big change. Everyone's getting autumn, winter ready, and men were shopping a lot more after COVID. Because they don't shop online and they don't see all that visual stuff with Instagram, but ladies do. But it has started to turn, so we're getting our ladies back.
Okay. And in terms of Fashion Week, does that have any relevance? Do you?
Not to me.
No.
Any sort of like trends or I don't know. I find the idea of high fashion interesting, but I'm too skint to indulge. I just kind of wear what I like. And it just, if it happens to coincide with what's in trend, it's just a bonus.
So the final question is, there's been a lot of 3D rendered items and digital catwalks where the whole collection is like a game, really. Mm-hmm. What do you think about all of that?
Well, it's natural to happen because of the digital switch. Eventually everything will become done in that way. I don't like it. No. I like human connection. And even in stuff that's not connected to that, if like how you go on Amazon or something like that, and then you can't speak to a person if there's an issue, everything will become like that eventually, and everything will be done digitally. But I think it kills part of the joy and the experience of everything, not just fashion.
And I think in personal shopping, it's so important. They love that interaction with the person and to get to know that person and to help them to style. So they can look at something on a catwalk or virtual. It's not the same as coming in and feeling the fabrics and showing you how to tuck something in, and just being very personal. So
People buy people, not products.
they definitely do.
Yeah, so my name is Josh and I'm an assistant manager here at Rocket in Brick Lane, where we sell basically second-hand clothes.
Fab. And what does fashion and Brick Lane mean to you?
Well, to me it's a lot about second-hand, vintage, and a lot of young people come here to specifically look for that kind of thing. And there's obviously a lot of different shops around here that sell the same kind of stuff. Basically,
It's been around for ages.
it's been around since 1983, I believe, and we've got 4 stores in London. Yeah.
And what does, there's a massive Bangladeshi immigrant culture here. How does that affect?
We definitely see a lot of people, like customers, are from that area, and they're always looking for stuff and interesting things. Lots of bargain shoppers, at least, anyway. Yeah, we often see them come in through the doors. So, yeah.
Brilliant. So you're serving the local.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and we have actually regulars as well who we recognise and see them every week or so.
And it's Fashion Week this week. Does that? I mean, that kind of, it's sort of a contradiction, isn't it?
Yeah.
With vintage.
Especially vintage is trying to be more sustainable, but I think definitely designers are getting more into that and trying to be as sustainable as they can. But it's definitely trying to find a happy medium between vintage and second-hand and new fashion, basically.
So does Fashion Week, does it really mean anything? Or?
I would like to think so. It depends what industry. Like for some people it was definitely a big thing for them, but I think for the second-hand and vintage aspect, maybe not so much. It's more for the trends, and other people will try and find what they see on the catwalk and try and find their version of it in second-hand, basically.
It's interesting. And finally, digital fashion. I mean, it seems like 2 ends of the spectrum: vintage clothes and digital fashion. Has that impacted?
Well, especially during COVID, definitely did. We tried to be more online and trying to get more sales for online. But since the shops have been back open, that side of our business has sort of lacked a bit, and it's lost a bit of momentum since the shops have been open. And it's specifically hard to find second-hand online. You want to see it, you want to feel it, you want to look at it and make sure it looks okay.
And what if it was sort of rendered into 3D, into
yeah, I don't think we've actually even looked into that sort of side of it yet, but maybe in the future it's something that could happen.
Okay, great, thank you very much.
All right.
Hey, fam. Shout out everyone in the world. Good morning, good evening, good night. You know, I'm Prince Metro, straight out of London, northwest of London, but now based in the east side. And I produce all genres of music, starting from reggae, rap, hip hop, house, and drum and bass and others. And also podcasts. You know, that's what I specialize in, podcasting too. And mainly in liberating the minds of people. You know, I deal with morely helping people with mental health that's going through life difficulties. So if I can help on their journey, I put my 1% in. On my app 365, just type in King Metro 365, and you'll be able to listen to my podcast that I've been doing for these past 6 months. I've been podcasting.
Wow, congratulations.
It's been going quite well. Well, basically, Brick Lane is basically the home of. It is the home of fashion. Now we all know that. It's the home of the vintage clotheswear. It's the foundation really of like I said, of London. You know, fashion itself, clothing. You know, and now that now that everything is more digital now, we've got way more content creators now in the fashion industry than we had before. And the fashion industry is way more wider. Before we just had a quick span of you had to be tall, you had to be a certain this. Now it's endless. You could be you could be anything, and there's a position there for you in the fashion world.
So it's more inclusive.
Yeah, I'd say it's more. they've opened up, I say like 10 years or maybe even 5 years even, that they've changed up the whole resume, their mindset. Otherwise, if you're from London itself, you know how the dress code is. So, you know where I'm coming from. Look at you like, I'm afraid so. Everything's going to be unnecessary when it concerns digital. It will never be able to beat the physical, because obviously it's the physical act is what creates the digital. The digital doesn't create the physical. Do you know what I mean? So it's always, we're forever going to need it when we want to ascend to other heights within that industry there. But otherwise, the standard way, the original way, is going to be the only way, because it's been like that for centuries.
Great.
Thanks, man. You know what I mean?
Thank you. Cheers. I don't know what to do. Thanks very much. What I'll do is, so my name's Bushra Burge, but I'll find you on your podcast and I'll put a link.
Do you have stereo? Do you have app stereo?
No, I have to download that.
Yeah, it's just this app here.
Okay, let me get this before.